It's time for today's Face-Off on Foxsoul. Our challengers, community activist Quanell X and former police officer, judge, and current criminal attorney Charles Big Angry Adams square up for the main event. Let's see who throws the first punch. Face-Off on Foxsoul starts right now.
I was put in a lot of uncomfortable situations regarding religion.
The racial and sexual harassment, it either go to the bathroom for myself or lose my job and my livelihood.
The ongoing legal battle between Lizzo and her production team and dance team captain takes another turn in today's first round. Here's Quanell X.
Charles, some of Lizzo's backup singers have filed a lawsuit against her, claiming that they were forced to do things against their religion, against their beliefs, and also they were forced to do things that were sexually immoral. One in particular where they said they was influenced and forced to eat a banana out of a female's vagina. One also said that she was forced to compromise her religious beliefs. Charles, I would say this, man, to any young woman who wants to be in the entertainment industry, Hollywood and the music industry for a long time has attempted to get good men and women to sell their souls to be popular in those industries. If you really have religious beliefs against that behavior, well then stand with God and don't compromise God and don't sell God out and let God exalt your career at the time that he wants to. But Satan will try to trick you with entertainment leading figures to get you to sell out your morals. Now, getting a woman or any woman to eat a banana out of another woman's vagina, I would say this to that young woman or those young women. Did she put a pistol to your head? Because you don't let no human being force you to sell out yourself for sexual immorality to that degree and then turn around and blame them because you went ahead and did it. Now, God ain't going to accept that. You went ahead and did it, whether it was influencing you or not, demanding that you do it or not. Have some damn strength and some morals and say, hell no, I'm not doing that. But if Lizzo did that, Charles, then our dear sister should be ashamed of herself and know that your talent, dear sister, is from God, on loan from God, but don't let Satan use you to destroy yourself either.
Well, the latest news in this controversy is that Lizzo's attorney has come out and said that they are going to file a civil claim, a countersuit, alleging wrongful prosecution. And they bolstered that with a video of one of the dancers saying wonderful things about Lizzo after the alleged incidents. Also, the banana eating incident apparently happened in Amsterdam. And I'll tell you, I just got back from Amsterdam. A lot of craziness in that city. And then there was another incident with cabaret and topless dancers, alleged incident in Paris. And they produced a photo of the women who are accusing Lizzo of employer malfeasance. It appears to show them all having a great time. Now, the legal question here is if Lizzo threatened them with job consequence for not engaging in this salacious behavior, which is getting a lot of, obviously, the news attention. But there are other allegations that Lizzo attacked, criticized, and terminated women for gaining too much weight. Now, I find that the most, if it's true, and Houston's own Lizzo, I don't think we're in a culture where people with money and people with fame and success are often attacked simply by lawyers. Lawyers are absolute scumbags, don't get it wrong, I'm one, but I recognize that there are so many of them that are just looking for a quick buck and they can fabricate these claims. But if it is true, right, and through the discovery process, and now there's so much, so much stuff is done by text, everyone's got a video camera. If it establishes that she was denigrating these women, attacking these women because of obesity or being heavy, well, that's a horrible blow to her public image because a lot of it built, as you mentioned, on her incredible musical talent. But a lot of the attention given to Lizzo by the radio industry, the music industry, and by the media juggernaut is the fact that she was a loud voice for female empowerment and female acceptance of their bodies. And if it was all a lie, well, that's heartbreaking.
Well, Charles, what I have a problem with, though, is Lizzo, if she did do it, well, then she is guilty of the behavior, but I don't accept that she made those women do it. They chose to do it. If she didn't put a gun to their head, they chose to do it. If she threatened them with employment, would then tell her to take that job and shove it, and God will bless me with another job, because God does not allow one window to close without opening another. I'm sick and tired of seeing men and women in this country allow Hollywood to absolutely, completely strip us of our morals, and for the access for a role, access for a platinum or gold record, access to playing in certain movies, dancing on stage. We will sell out our morals, we'll sell out our spirituality, and we'll pretend like God don't even exist. We have to fight back and stand up, young women. If they try to get you to do it, say hell no. As long as I got God with me and God got my back, I'm going to be the winner. It's a test. But if you flunk that test, don't blame nobody else. You got to blame yourself.
See, I think that's an absurd take, right? Here's the thing. It's not just Hollywood, right? It's all across America. You have horrible examples of sexual harassment, mainly done by men, sometimes by women, right? Where people are coerced into doing things that they personally consider immoral for fear of losing their job. And you talk about, well, God will find you another job. But we also have horrifying examples around the world of women traveling for business, oftentimes to the Middle East, and then being afraid that they're trapped there and being forced into doing awful, awful things. These women were in Europe. They're not women on a tour. Had they just walked off and said, no, 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 well, the possibility exists they would have had an incredible difficulty getting home. These were just backup dancers. They weren't wealthy women like Lizzo, and they were not empowered like their boss.
I'm not buying that BS.
But you have
That's
it.
BS.
So every time a boss makes a woman do something horrible,
one young girl,
you blame the woman. You
I
blame
don't
the
know
victim.
one father, if his daughter called and said, look, she's demanding that I eat a banana out of another woman's vagina, daddy, and says she's not going to pay for me to go home. That daddy would send that money.
40% of the women that
He would
don't
help his
have
daughter
a
come
father
home.
involved. How
But then
about all
call
the
your
people?
uncle, call your neighbor, call your pastor,
You are
call your
victim blaming.
brother, call your cousin,
victim
call a family
If
member.
this isn't true, it's horrifying. But if it is
Look,
true,
you
you're
call
victim
somebody to help
blaming
you
women
get back
for being
home.
coerced.
Next, a new battle in the ongoing gender wars. Will a children's hospital director stir the pot in the ongoing battle between the left and right? A California director of a gender clinic is quoted saying there are infinite gender identities, including one called a gender Tootsie Pop. The doc, already in the center of a lot of back and forth between those in favor and against the latest in the gender revolution. In today's second round, here's Charles Big Angry Adams.
You know, Quanell, it's not merely just the director of a gender clinic. This is a psychologist who is a director of the gender clinic at the San Francisco Children's Hospital, which is attached to the University of California, San Francisco, which is widely regarded as the best public medical school in the entire world. She is the gender clinic director. She's also a medical school professor. And I don't think it was Tootsie Pop, I think it was Tootsie Roll Pop. But she also talks about proto-gay and how about children can decide their gender identities based on the season or just about everything. And I do think this is largely a kickback, a pendulum swing, because we're not 50 years removed from the scientists that saved the world from the Nazis, Alan Turing committing suicide by eating an arsenic-laced apple because he was charged with being gay. We're not 30 years removed from the superstar Elton John marrying a woman to try to craft the fiction that he was a heterosexual. That we had a society, with a Western society, that was incredibly discriminatory to members of the LGBT community. And of course, still we see in parts of Africa, in the Middle East, in parts of Asia, where people are just still legally not allowed to be subjected to imprisonment and all the way to the death penalty. So I think we're seeing the swing back in America that's gotten equally absurd, right? We've seen this in women's sports where the lesbian icon Martina Navratilova was forced out of organizations because she said, hey, people that are born women, well, they should have their own sports league. And she was lambasted. But this is absurd, right? And this new thought that doctors and psychologists and psychiatrists and schools should trump the parents in this situation absurd. Parents should love their child no matter what their orientation,
Charles,
but we should be able to tell our
Charles,
kid they can't change their damn gender
Charles,
every 30 minutes.
Can you stop pandering?
I'm not pandering.
And just speak straight words.
Okay. Give us some homophobia.
Let me give you the raw, unadulterated truth.
Okay.
This doctor's a crackpot and crazy as hell. Can you imagine your son coming home and saying, Daddy, I'm no longer a boy, I'm a Tootsie Roll? Can you imagine your daughter coming home and saying, Daddy, I'm no longer a little girl, my teacher told me I can be a Tootsie Roll? Well, let me tell you something, baby. That ain't happening in my house. Tootsie Roll. You a boy or you a girl? If you're gonna choose a gender, well, hell, you better choose one that makes sense. This a crackpot doctor that is putting stuff out there that have gone crazy, and we wonder why doctors don't live any longer than their patients. Man, look, we got to do a better job of accepting and being tolerant of all human beings. We should not discriminate. We should not mistreat. We should not punish. We should not violate the human and civil rights of gay people. That's evil. But Charles, even some gay people would disagree with this, that a doctor's saying a child can identify with the gender based on the seasons of the year. Have we lost our damn mind? Are we going crazy?
I don't know why, but every time you say Tootsie Roll, I want to stand up out this chair and do the Tootsie Roll for the audience, but would be a little bit absurd.
Well, maybe you want to come out the closet.
Well, here's the thing.
Maybe time you want to step on out the closet, do the Tootsie Roll.
Look, but it's not an insult to say that someone's gay. When you say, oh, you want to come out of the closet, that echoes of the 80s and 90s where the cut down. Like, when did you graduate high school?
90.
Okay, so did I. We graduated the same year. In the 80s, what did every man call another man to emasculate him or insult him, right? It was a pejorative that was directed at gay people, and that was just a common cut down all across America.
If another man called another man a punk, there was many different reasons why you could be called a punk.
Okay, I was thinking of a different word, a more severe word that I'm not going to use, but it was very commonplace in America, right? And there was such vitriol directed at gay people, and we've evolved, but we've gotten to the point of this absurdist extremism. And what bothers me the most in our society today is school districts thinking that they should govern how children are raised. School districts thinking that they should intercede and actually actively lie to parents. And it's fueled by doctors like this woman, and she's a psychologist, not a psychologist, so not a medical doctor.
She's a psychotic psychologist.
Who is teaching medical students at the finest public medical school in the world that children can change their gender with
Parents,
season.
be very careful who you allow your children to see as therapists. Be very mindful and careful who you allow your children to be educated by also, because if you got teachers or therapists telling your child that you can change your gender depending on the season, whatever makes you feel good during the season, and call yourself Lollipop or Tootsie Roll, I got a problem with that.
But here's the truth, Quanell. The industry of gender transition that's now called gender affirmation, kind of the Orwellian switch of words, that industry, which is required to be included on all insurance programs since Obamacare, that is required that they're paying for it. Prisons are literally paying for people on death row to get boobs, right? That industry.
Well, now, I got a problem with that.
I do too. That industry is a
I don't think no man should get a free pair of titties if he's in prison.
That industry
is going to be a $1 trillion industry. You got women out here right now,
But hold on, Quanell, why aren't we just teaching people to love themselves the way they are?
But Charles,
if they're straight, they're gay,
Charles,
they're whatever,
you got women
teach them
out
to
here
love
right now
themselves.
who go to work every day and their insurance companies will not pay for them to get breast implants. But you got a man who committed crimes that justified him being sent to prison and got the taxpayers buying him a free pair of titties.
Insane.
There's a whole lot of women out here that I would rather see your insurance companies pay for those breast implants. And there are more women out here who deserve them breast implants than the men do. Because there are a lot of women who've had babies and they have lost their top strength and top, how they look. They've had these children from breastfeeding, etc. Why don't we let her help her get her some breast implants if she want them? But a cat that's committing murder and being in prison get some free titties, not on my watch, baby.
That's the thing. The argument is, the argument made by medical professors like this idiot in California is that you have to provide the service because it is helping them switch to what their gender should be, right? And because I think most of it is dollar driven. Clearly there are some people that actually have gender dysmorphia and that actually need to transition to live their lives, and I believe in their freedom to do it, the liberty. I don't necessarily think the taxpayer should pay for it, but at the end of the day, We have doctors encouraging people to make these transitions merely for financial reasons. And they're not telling people, hey, love yourself. Be
First
gay,
of all,
be straight,
I don't believe that
love
no
yourself.
child should be allowed to have gender transition surgery without the parent's permission. That's one. And two, I believe a child should be required to undergo some type of psychological therapy before making that final decision.
But how about we just teach people to be happy with the skin they're in, right? How about we just
Well, then why don't you tell white folks that? Because you taught the
Yeah.
whole world to be unhappy with the skin that you're in.
It got you here. You got to racism.
In today's main event, a white teacher is being called racist for forcing black students to pronounce a certain word. The heated topic, next. In today's main event, a video online shows what appears to be educators talking about correcting students on how to pronounce the word ask. Here's Quanell X.
Charles, many are outraged that a white educator was telling other educators that they should correct black children who are not speaking the King's English correctly, that linguistically they're using the word incorrectly, saying ask and not ask. And so she instructed them to teach them to say the word correctly. Let me say this. Some are offended and angry that she would do that, but many black parents, including my grandmother and my aunts and uncles, made sure that we spoke grammatically correct. Even if we said certain words and it was not correctly speaking, our teachers would correct us. But when you have a white teacher do it, and she may mean well, but what she doesn't understand that we are a people in this nation for over 370 years were undereducated, purposely, systematically miseducated, denied the right to even read in this country without being put to death during slavery. And our public school system, our academic institutions were financially not given the resources on purpose to make sure we were an undereducated people. And so the white girl saying we'll teach them to speak grammatically correct does not understand your people purposely put us in that condition, but that does still not negate the fact that we as a people should teach our children the correct vernacular and teach them to speak grammatically correct. But hell, you got a whole lot of white kids today speaking Ebonics and not speaking correct. So hell, tell everybody that, not just black children.
Yeah, I do love the fact that you always find a way to decry speaking holistically about a race of people at the same time when you're speaking holistically about white people. So this video, and I wish we had the audio, was a group of California teachers having a meeting that appeared to be being led by a white teacher who said that it was white supremacy for teachers to correct African American students in their pronunciation of the word ask when they say ax instead of ask, right? I think personally, but you did have African American teachers on the same Zoom video absolutely agreeing with her. But I think this whole thing is a charade by the very broken public education system. In California, the educational outcomes for students of color is absolutely horrifying. It's heartbreaking. And we see that all across this country. But we're seeing it the most in more liberal states that are well-funded schools, right? Now we're seeing horrible outcomes in Republican states too, but we're seeing them for all children, like Mississippi, Alabama. Of course it's worse for black children. But I think this is actually a conspiracy among public educators to, much like the conspiracy to say the way to reform police is to not have police, thus abandoning poor people of color to being victimized. I think by saying, oh, if you teach these kids proper English, that's white supremacy, is just a charade for teachers being excused for not doing their damn job,
what
right?
That white instructor and that white educator did not understand was that black children speaking grammatically incorrect is a real proof of a lack of academic degree of success in our community, like we should have. It's living proof that in our community, we need to take education, academics more seriously. I've seen more brothers and sisters stand in line for a rap concert that will stand in line at a PTO meeting, a parent-teachers meeting with the teacher that night. Ask teachers who teach in the inner city, how many parents in the inner city show up to participate when it's time to meet the teacher or talk about their children's academics? We as black people got to take control of our academic excellence in our community. We got to raise the standards. We cannot look for a white educator to demand that we do it. We got to do it. Charles, what needs to take place here in America, we got to get rid of some of these teachers' unions that work night and day to keep bad teachers employed in these jobs. We got to do more to find great teachers by raising the pay of teachers to get more qualified teachers in the classroom to teach these inner city kids. Teachers are not making no real money. They're underpaid. They're overworked and underappreciated. We got to change the whole paradigm when it comes to teachers. Then we can have better students. I don't
understand you. You're saying that we need to get rid of teachers' unions, and we also need to not overwork and underpay teachers. But of course, that's the entire purpose of the union, is to try to protect teachers and make sure they get paid.
Well, they ain't never did it.
But hold on.
They ain't getting paid no money, so obviously they failed. They ain't never did it.
In America, we have this achievement gap, right? An achievement gap where Asian students sit at the top, and then white students, and then Latin American students, and then black students, right? And what we've decided on the right, right, the Republicans on the right, they just don't give a damn, right? In Texas, in this state that we live in, the inner city schools like HISD are so horribly underfunded as compared to the wealthy suburban schools, and that's a tragedy, and that's horrible, and that's something
but that's
Republicans
always
do
happened
awful.
in America.
Right, it's disgusting.
All over America.
What we see in other states, what we see is, well, reform is just, hey, there's an achievement gap. We can't fix it. They're just not capable. But the truth is, all the studies say everyone is just as smart as everyone else, right? It doesn't matter if you're white, black, Asian, whatever.
Not the one you just noted.
No, hold on. The difference is made by access to books, right? HISD,
Charles,
they just shut down the damn libraries here in Houston.
Let me say this
we
to you,
need
Charles.
to put more books in the hands of black kids in America.
You know who got to put more books in the hands of black kids in America? Black mothers and fathers. You know who got to demand a high standard of academic excellence in the black community? Black people. You know who got to demand that our children achieve academic standards and pursue academic excellence? We pursue basketball, pursue academic excellence, we pursue football and extracurricular activities and entertainment. Black mothers and fathers and the black community. We got to raise the standards. We cannot look for others to do it for us.
But you don't have to limit it to black parents. This applies to all parents.
Look,
we need to have more
I got to talk about my own people first before I talk about everybody else.
Okay, but at the end of the
charity
day,
starts at home first and it spreads abroad. We cannot do for
white
others what we do for ourselves.
Is not teaching kids. White supremacy is failing to teach kids, not teaching kids.
Well, white supremacy has miseducated
she's a racist.
Kids. White supremacy has miseducated all the kids in America, including the white ones.
And now to the final round.
Well, America, thank you for listening. I am heartbroken if the allegations against Lizzo are true, because right here I'm a Houstonian, and she is an incredible example of achievement in this city. And she's also an incredible example of teaching people to love themselves the way they are. And if it's all been a lie and it's all been hypocrisy, and she's condemning her employees for not having the physical appearance that she wanted to, well, that's incredibly sad. But I personally hope that it's not true. But that segues into us about this Tootsie Roll gender and this incredible gender ideology that is driven about teaching people not to be happy with themselves. And the starting point for this is to tell America as a whole, it's okay to be straight, it's okay to be gay, it's okay to love yourself the way you are, and encouraging it. Instead, our for-profit medical industry, driven by greed, has said, hey, this is the way we can make money. And if you actually look at the numbers, because the argument is we have to have these gender transition surgeries available because of the horrifying suicide rate in that community. But the suicide rate actually stays static and then sometimes goes up post-surgery, right? So what we need to do is to find solutions for these young people and adults that are unhappy with themselves, to teach them to love themselves. And that goes straight into the education issue, right? This achievement gap in America is downstream from underfunding black education, underfunding poor education, and we need to fund it, and we need to help poor kids.
Sister Lizzo, let me say this to you, dear sister. You are a magnificent talent. You are a gift from God with your musical genius. But do, at all times, please remember that your gift is from God. It's on loan from God. and use your musical talent to uplift your fellow sisters and uplift the human family. Don't let Satan's world trick you because of a dollar and being famous in this world, when God is very angry and upset with how we conduct ourselves among our brothers and sisters and what we influence them with as people of influence. When it comes to gender transition surgery for young people, no child, in my opinion, should be allowed to make that transitional surgery without parents being directly involved with all of it. No school should have the right to teach a child that it's okay to do it and give them avenues how to get it done without speaking directly first with the parents. And least but not last, I want to encourage all of us to pay attention to the academic problems in America. America's academic institutions are failing to properly educate all of its children. And America in the world today, her academic standards are being made mockery of in places like China, in other countries in the Middle East, and in Africa, where academic excellence is a mandatory mandate for all of the cultures and those who live in those nations.
That's it for the